Hello, hello, welcome to Dexit Sound Studios. Come on in. I'm Hanan Rubinstein. This is my home base. I usually just wear lav mics around in case someone shows up. Come on in. This is our control room. And we are here today to talk about the wonderful and amazing Antelope Audio Galaxy 64, the new heart of our studio. All right, so when we first started the Mean Girls project, I decided to upgrade our IOs, and I decided to go with the Galaxy. We kept the 10MX because everyone loves the 10MX, no need to elaborate there. And we went with the Galaxy, and man, it just sounds so good. But aside from the sound, which is beyond anything I've heard, it also has 64 ins and 64 outs, and it actually beat my stereo mastering grade converter that I used to print through, right? I mean, I would go through the console or whatever analog stuff we were doing, and then we would commit back to the digital. But when we had to print different stems, like, you know, like a cappella, instrumental, TV mix, drums only, guitars only, you know, we had to separate all of these different mixes for, you know, TV shows or movies, just the way you deliver projects, and it would take forever to mix things out of the box because you would have to print them one by one and you have to sync them. So I would just mix everything in the box, which is fine, but with this converter I can print everything in one go. It's changed my life, honestly. I set up my mixes on the board knowing that I'll print stuff separately, and then I just mix into it, and when it's time to commit, it's one button and all 12 or 15 or 20 mixes just go in one go. It's a life changer. In terms of wiring, I have the Galaxy normal to the first 24 channels here on the board in the SSL, and then I have 25 through 56 going to the Sigma, to the summing amp, which then feeds back to the console. There's a few tricks in there, but I, in the process, discovered that the conversion was just so beyond good that you can't really tell. I mean, you A/B it on the board with, you know, mic signals that are coming in from the room versus what goes in and out of the Galaxy, and it's indistinguishable. So I decided to hook up some units directly to it, like some of our reverbs, like the 480, the 224, I have a Dimension D on the side there. They go right into the Galaxy. Whatever I need to route into reverbs just goes through it, and it's fine. We also have, as you see, an analog patch bay, which I use for other things, but I wouldn't hesitate to use this thing as a center for a studio. The conversion is that good. Another thing I really love about the Galaxy is the monitor outputs. There's a pair of TRS jacks in the back, and the fidelity is just incredible. It's beyond anything I've heard in any other unit, to be honest. And I use them all the time in different scenarios. One is when I'm just working in the box and I need to monitor simply without anything fancy. That's normal here to my external. But another way I use them is when I'm printing an analog mix, I listen back from the digital post-conversion, and I sometimes need different routing. So Antelope have this really cool routing matrix that makes things really easy. For example, here's my monitor source, and right now it's seeing 1 and 2. So if I was working in the box, I would just have outputs 1 and 2, and that would go to my monitor outputs. But let's say I was monitoring a mix and 1 and 2 is occupied. I'll take, let's say, 63 and 64, and what I'll do is, all I gotta do is just drag them right over to monitor, and that's it. So you can just grab whatever source you want and drop it to where you want to go, and it makes life super easy. Now, if that's not easy enough, what you can do is, if you go to Session right here and the new software that just came out, you can save 5 presets. So here I have, you know, my first routing. Here I have my 63, 64 to go into the monitor, and you can switch them over here. Now, to make things even easier, if you go to surround monitor, you can pop out this widget, and then you can minimize this window. Let me just put it right here so you can see. This widget's amazing. First you have the monitor volume. I don't really use it as much because I have the console. It's basically a monitor controller. And here you have all the presets you can create, and this just, you know, I keep it floating above my DAW, and if I need to change routing, I don't even go to the big matrix. I just have my favorites, and it makes life super easy. So kudos to Antelope for making that really nice. All right, so I got a great song pulled up by the amazing Jerry Mack. Shout out to Jerry Mack. It's like a Cuban jazz vibe. Here's the song. And it's not I didn't do a proper mix for this, but I have everything spread out on the console. I have all the drums and percussion here, drums, percussion shakers, congas, timbales, bass, piano, horns. And let's say that I want to do a mix that that is a full mix. So I would dial that in. First of all, I would, as I mentioned before, I would monitor out of the monitor output. So I have the mix going to out 63, 64, excuse me. And let me pull up the mixer actually. Usually I wouldn't even pull up the mixer. I would just use the widget here. But you see the monitor sources 1 and 2. If I press my B preset, it will just load up 63, 64. Which is fantastic because everything moves super fast. But now if I play the song, since it's in record arm, and I went to my external, there you go. And my monitor control can control the volume of the return. So that's super cool and super easy to do. Now, like I said, the Galaxy is incredible in terms of quality, and what I do is I'll send things to the bus matrix. So aside from this full mix, let's say I just wanted drums and percussion. So I'll mute this full and I'll open the drums and percussion. Nothing's going there yet, but if I assign drums, different percussion elements, timbales, oops, chunky fingers. So now I have my full mix, and I have my drums and percussion only. That's all recording at the same time. Now if I took the bass and I say, okay, go to 3, 4, now the bass would show up right here. You see, if I took it out, oops, that goes away. So we have bass right here. And again, everything else is going at the same time. Horns would go to 5, 6. Okay, and then finally piano will go to 7, 8. And I have more outputs if I wanted to go direct out of the channels, or if I wanted to go out of direct from the channels of the summing box. I can do all that. So I basically have unlimited amounts of inputs depending on how I structure the mix. But for this purpose, let's just go with the 4 pairs. So now this should be piano. Yep. And you see, I'm only listening from the external. Shout out to Charles Blenzing on the piano, one of the most amazing musicians. Horns, bass, drums and percussion. So these are all stems, or I could just open the full. The full has the Fairchild as an insert, but aside from the Fairchild, I should technically be able to reproduce the whole mix by just unmuting these 4 stems. And then what I can do is just record everything. I'll open up the full to monitor. And as the record plays, you can look at the tracks. Now what's really cool is if I go to my DAW, I can monitor just drums, bass only, horns, piano. It's incredible. Like I said, don't judge my mix and levels here, but for the sake of demonstrating, this is my workflow. And I mean, could you imagine printing the whole song as a full, then printing only drums, printing only bass, printing only horns? And you know, this is a song without vocals or background vocals. I mean, you could have so many different passes. This way, with the Galaxy, I just set up my routing and literally dump it in one go, and it's been amazing. It's one of the best investments ever. That's basically it.